Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here in Hollywood, California. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining us here as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, all that sorts of good stuff. And speaking of good stuff, I'm sitting beside one of the best, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, ladies and gentlemen. Robert, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, watching that Shaft trailer about original gangsters made me feel like an OG, but an original geek.
Oh, see, more stuff out of your mouth that you got to turn into a T-shirt. And also, things don't get much better than when you have Ashley Whalen around. Ashley, how are you doing?
Hey, morning, everyone. I'm doing great, thank you. Ready to get started on this beautiful Thursday.
It is a beautiful Thursday, heading into the final day of the week, and we've got a couple things to talk about here off the top before we get into our main topics. Late last night, we've been talking about it. We've known it was coming for a while. I forgot it was coming for a while. But the brand new Shaft trailer dropped online last night. Of course, Samuel Jackson returns. Richard Roundtree is back, and now he's got a son. You know, Samuel Jackson's got a son, and Regina Hall, who I will admit I've probably had a little bit of a crush on for the past 10 years. But anyway, the trailer drops last night. Rob, you had a chance just to watch it now. What did you think about the new Shaft trailer?
You know, I thought it was crazy. John Singleton directed the Shaft with Sam Jackson, and I love the fact that they kept it in continuity. And now another Shaft with a third generation, 3 generations of Shaft, which means this could wind up being one of the great film trilogies of all time, right up there with The Lord of the Rings.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Samuel Jackson's character, if I remember the movie right, he's actually Richard Roundtree's nephew, right?
Right.
Like, not his son.
Not his son.
But didn't he call him Grandpa? Then the third generation kid. So I don't know what's going on there. Are they retconning it?
I don't know.
Is it just a term of endearment calling him Grandpa?
I think maybe it's just slang. Like he's like, hey, Grandpa, meaning maybe he's an old guy. Maybe he doesn't know that there's a relation. I don't know. But you know what? That trailer has me very excited.
You like the trailer?
I love the trailer. I thought it was great.
All right. Well, I mean, when I saw that the trailer dropped, I was pretty stoked to watch it.
Come on.
I didn't think the trailer was that good.
Oh man.
And I love Samuel Jackson. And the one little part was what did she call her? Miss Syphilis, Miss
Chlamydia, yeah.
That was pretty funny. But I got to tell you, nothing else in the trailer really worked for me. Now, what I am holding on to as my hope is the fact that I've seen many movies that had trailers I did not like. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Right.
That had trailers I didn't necessarily like, and then I loved the movie. So I'm going to hold on to this. I like the tone of it. I like what they're going for. This again, Samuel Jackson. It's hard to miss with Samuel Jackson on the screen with you. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But I will admit this trailer didn't get me really ramped up.
See, I'm a big fan of that genre, and I've been watching those movies all my life, and I just love the fact that they keep bringing back the people that started it. Seeing Richard Roundtree.
Yeah.
You know, I was just talking about Larry Cohen's mid-'90s movie Original Gangsters, when they brought back like Fred Williamson, and they brought back Richard Roundtree, and they brought back Pam Grier. And I was at that first showing in the Cinerama Dome. Bring those movies on. I love them.
I just got to say, though, whenever I see trailers like this, it just makes me want a Black Dynamite 2 so much more. Michael Jai White, where is Black Dynamite 2? Please give us Black Dynamite 2. All right, speaking of trailers, another trailer dropped this morning. This was a second trailer for the upcoming Pet Sematary. Gives us a lot more different stuff. Sometimes we see a first trailer, and then we see a second trailer, which is about 75% of the same stuff that was in the first trailer, a few different things. This was a different trailer.
Yeah.
And it gave us a lot more. But anyway, Rob, you saw this Pet Sematary trailer. What did you think?
I'm very excited. It looks quite tremendous, actually. Pet Sematary is, people don't remember this, but it was a book that Stephen King refused to release. It was for years. He said, I wrote this book. It's too scary. I can't deal with it because it's about dead kids coming back from the dead, or dead kids coming back to life. And when it came out, I believe it came out in '82, finally. I couldn't get to the bookstore fast enough. And it was one of the first books I ever sat and read from beginning to end. And it's, to this day, the scariest book I ever read.
Now, I have never read Pet Sematary. I've never read it. The first one is not even like amongst my favorite films. The first one,
no.
The concept is so great and so cool. I'll tell you what, though, the first trailer I thought was really good. This trailer is awesome.
It's awesome.
I was creeped out, and I don't often get creeped out. Even at horror trailers, I think look really great. This was creepy. Now, I'm sure there are going to be some people, understandably, they're going to say, man, they gave a lot away. This trailer gave it a lot away. And my first reaction to that is, well, this is a decades-old celebrated novel that is a remake of a very famous film that was already out. Are there a lot of people out there that don't know some of the twists and the turns of the story? But I get it. If you're somebody who's not familiar with the story, you probably watch this trailer and went, that seems like a rather significant plot point they just gave away. And that's true. Notwithstanding that, I thought it was a very effective trailer. And I always say, Rob, that the job of a trailer is to take your needle, wherever it is, high or low, and bump it up a few notches.
Yeah.
This trailer, I was already pretty excited for Pet Sematary. This has just ramped it up a whole hell of a lot more. I'm so excited for this movie.
I couldn't agree more. And, even when I read the book, there's a catchphrase in the book that's in the movie as well, which is sometimes dead is better. And even when I finished reading the book, I was in junior high school, I think. And I would go to junior high school, and I was like, sometimes dead is better. I said it for like a week, and no one knew what the hell I meant. I thought I was the coolest guy in school. Most people thought I was just a nerd, but hey, both were true.
And how great does it sound coming out of Jonathan Lithgow's mouth?
So good. I mean, Fred Gwynne, though, he was great in the first, but Lithgow, John Lithgow has always been one of my favorite actors.
Oh, he's amazing.
He's amazing, and he's done so many great roles, and he's gonna kill it.
I remember when he first started playing the villain a couple of times. Like, what was the one Stallone movie? What was it? Cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger. Yeah.
And it was like, wait a minute, that's Mr. Henderson from Harry and the Hendersons. That's the dad from Footloose. And of course, then he did Third Rock and all this kind of stuff. But I love seeing him. Actually, you had a chance to watch this trailer this morning too. Mm-hmm. What did you think about the Pet Sematary trailer?
I'm excited. It looks really creepy. I can't handle really anything with like slicing an Achilles heel, and I don't like that they ended with that, but I will go see it. I'm excited.
Yeah, I can't remember if I watched it. Somebody said like that Achilles heel is like the A Quiet Place scene when Emily Blunt's walking down the stairs. Still the most horrifying scene to me in years. And with monsters and ghouls and ghosts and demons, the most horrifying thing I've seen in a movie is a woman walking down the stairs and stepping on a nail. That's nothing gets as much of a reaction out of me as that does. All right, guys, with that stuff down and out of the way, let's move on now to our main topics of the day. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You guys select them by emailing me your topics and questions anytime, 24/7. As Ray starts dancing with the jingling crystals over there, to John at thejohncampeashow.com. That's John at thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. With that down, Ashley, what's our first email today?
All right, first email up is from Nicola Rampi. Hey, Giovanni, I'm Nicola from Italy, a big fan of your show. I just wanted to comment on how in the Space Theater, we have a 5-minute intermission for every movie, no matter how long it is. I personally love the possibility to go to the bathroom, and the theaters get to make extra cash on popcorn and drinks. So why do you think in the USA you don't? Do people hate so much the idea of a brief break?
Well, grazie, Nicola. So, and my family's from Calabria. Anyway, so, look, we actually touched on this a little bit the other day when we were talking about the possibility of a 3-hour runtime for an Avengers. And I think I kind of brought up, man, for a 3-hour movie or more, I would love the idea of an intermission. I mean, there'd be some problems with the theater side of things and blah, blah, blah. But I'll tell you what, Rob, I've been thinking about this more and more. And then this email from Nicola came in. And I have gone from being kind of, man, it would be nice, but to, no, man, I really like the idea of an intermission. I really like the idea for an intermission. And let me say why here. There's a couple of caveats here, though. Movie's got to be at least maybe 2:20, 2 hours, 30 minutes or longer. There's no point in having an intermission for a 95-minute movie, 100-minute movie. No need for it at that point. But the reason I love the idea of it so much is it does a couple of things. Number one, it's great for the audience because, as I've said, like when I'm sitting, just watch. Pay attention the next time you're in a movie theater. How many times during the movie do people have to get up and walk out and go to the bathroom, or they walk out to go check their phone? Or, by the way, thank you to those of you who get up and walk out of the theater to check your phone. You are the unsung. Not all heroes wear capes. So thank you to those of you who do it that way. But, some people want to get them to go check their phone. They want to go out and use the bathroom. They want to go to have an action. And then they're missing maybe important minutes of the film.
Right.
And you're sitting there and you got people walking past you to go to the bathroom. You don't get upset with that. People got to go. They got to go. If you had a 7-minute break in between there, then you never have to worry about, I got to get up and miss a few minutes. You never have to worry, at least a lot less, about how often other people are going to be getting up and going by. And for the benefit of the theater, they're going to sell, I'm telling you, their concession stand sales are going to go up 25% like that. 25% their concession sales will go up just like that. I am sitting here now. There is the argument to be made, and a valid one, about, well, I mean, you're into the movie and then it pauses.
Yeah.
And that's true. My retort to that would be, yeah, but, you know, they say the average person has to get up to use the bathroom at least once out of every 3 movies. So like, at least once every 3 movies you go to, guess what? You're getting that break in the movie anyway, except you're actually missing a couple of minutes of the film because you had to get up and go leave, or you're being disrupted because somebody else is walking by you, or all that kind of stuff. So I understand that point of view. I do. I think that's a legitimate argument about the break, but I think that is mitigated by some other things. Again, I don't think you should do it for every movie, particularly the shorter ones, but the longer ones, I think it'd be great for the audience. I think it'd be less distractions overall for while the movie's playing. It'll be great for the movie theaters because there's more concessions being done. You're not missing any precious minutes of the movie. Because remember, there's a real popular app that you can get called P Time or Run P. And it's an app that basically tells you all the movies that are out, and then it tells you when is the best time for you to get up and go to the bathroom during that movie. And it's one of the most popular apps in any of the app stores because it says, okay, if you're going to go see Pet Sematary, let's say it was already out, at 1 hour and 3 minutes, that's the best time to go because really not much happens for the next 2 minutes. You basically get away any of the need for apps like that. I just think,
but then you're looking at your phone.
Yes, and you get it hopefully.
And you're waiting
that's
for that
true.
minute.
Well, you just check it before you go into the theater. You check. You say, okay, so I'm going into this Pet Sematary. If I got to use the bathroom, 1 hour and 3 minutes, perfect. But I do believe there are downsides. But I think the potential upsides far outweigh the downsides. Now, I don't think you're as enthusiastic about this as I am. Tell me why. Tell me the opposite part of this.
First of all, what she was saying, Nicola, darling Nicola, who makes the decision where the intermission is in Italy? I mean, you're a filmmaker, you've worked on a film, you've crafted it, it's perfectly paced, and then somebody in Italy in some theater is going to be like, nah, I think we're going to put the intermission right here if there's no intermission. I'm just sitting there thinking, no, don't do that. Horrifying to me. Now, if the filmmakers were to put in an intermission the way they used to, I liked intermissions. I liked intermissions because it would fade out at usually a great moment, and then you get this rousing score like in Lawrence of Arabia or something. Great intermission. You know, then you go to the bathroom, you come back in. Hopefully the intermission music is still playing. You sit down, you get back in the mindset, and it starts. That's cool. But, I mean, come on. 2 hours, 2:20. We should be able to sit for that.
But they don't. You can say should all you want, Robert, but you have been in these movie theaters.
I know.
Then
everybody should pee first. Pee first.
Okay.
You know, it's like everyone else should take personal responsibility. You shouldn't. I don't like it when anyone gets up in the movie. I don't want anyone moving in my peripheral vision.
But look, the thing about going to the movies is it needs to be about the customers and not about what their responsibility is. The only responsibility a customer has in a movie theater is to shut up.
Yes.
That's the main responsibility you have.
To not get up and pee.
But it's also about creating a great experience for you. And you know what? I don't get that because when you're at home watching a movie on Blu-ray and DVD, quite often you'll pause to take a call or you'll pause to go do something. Did that ruin your experience of watching that movie again?
No, but it ruined the experience of the next movie you go to because you're used to getting up in the middle of movies, and in movie theaters, it's like being at home. I'm just going to get up and I'm going to leave, and then someone's going to walk in front of me during the scene where Thanos snaps his fingers. And then I want to kill somebody.
So if you had an intermission, guess what? That's not a problem anymore,
By the way,
Robert.
I just admitted that I wanted to kill someone in a movie theater, which, of course, is going to lead to, of course, I'm going to be pilloried on Twitter
20
now.
years from now, when you're trying to run for public office.
I was really thinking about the last time someone got up to pee in front of me, and I really wanted them dead.
Okay, so look, I'm acknowledging here that it does present a problem.
Right.
I just think the degree of that problem is being way overstated by some people. It is not a big. I just know for all the movies I've watched at home, it does not ruin my movie-going experience when I need to pause and go make a call, or at home where I got to pause, go check on dinner, or whatever, it doesn't ruin the
True.
movie for me.
You know, I am a total movie fundamentalist. I want things quiet.
And we
I don't want
need
people
more.
to-
We
and
need
by the
more
way,
people like you.
Before I get attacked by people who have legitimate health issues, bladder control issues, whatever, I don't mean to make light of your condition. I'm trying to be sort of humorous here. I'm not trying to put
No,
anyone
and I
down.
get. But we're talking just for the average movie-going audience.
Yeah,
right?
but nobody should ever get up in a movie. I'm
Yet
sorry.
They do. Shoulds. Doesn't
Movies
play. Let me
are
ask-
church.
let's
Movies
put
are
this-
holy places.
I agree. And guess what?
Theaters are
I used to
holy
go to church a lot too, and people need to get up and go, check on their kid, do what. I just think of anyway. Ashley, you're listening to us bellyache and moan about something so trivial here. First world problems, my friend.
Trivial. What?
Where do you fall in this? Would you want an intermission?
It's a good debate. I think that if the filmmakers were in control, but maybe there could be a rule that halfway through their film they have to implement an intermission, and that's just the rule of movies.
But what if Robert? What if like a part of the whole
So
distribution
then the filmmakers
is
would know.
the whole part? One of the elements you include during distribution is the filmmakers submit when they prefer an intermission to happen. If your theater does intermission, we as the filmmakers prefer you do it at this time point.
Well, okay. Now that's a very interesting idea. I think that if this becomes implemented, give the filmmakers. I don't think anybody would necessarily object to that. If the filmmakers were in control of where that intermission was, then I would say I would be more on board with that idea, because I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. But as long as the filmmakers could control
Get
it,
some input.
and we got, to me, that allows for a little bit of extra creativity. I would love to hear score, another piece of intermission score. That would actually, in a
Tarantino
way,
loves that stuff.
I know it would be like there was an intermission when I saw. Wasn't there I saw the 70mm Roadshow version of
Hateful Eight.
Of Hateful Eight.
I believe, he did build in an intermission.
Yeah, and that was it was cool. And I missed the overtures too. Star Trek: The Motion Picture has an overture.
And by the way, I would like the intermission stuff, but if you do, you got to compensate by taking out one or two trailers. Because what was the pre-15, which is the 15 minutes of trailers, turned into the pre-20, turned into the pre-22, turned into the pre-25. If you're going to implement like a 7-minute thing, take out 2 trailers.
Come on, man, 5 trailers. I want 5 trailers.
But we're getting so many more than 5 trailers these days.
Bring them on.
I'd be great with 5 trailers. The problem is like a movie that starts at 7 is now ending at 10:15. Like you're getting out at 10:15. There's just got to be a little bit more. Anyway, now we're getting on to a totally separate topic. Let's move on to what do you guys think, actually? Jump down the comment section. Would you like the idea? Now, granted, I think it should be with the caveat that it's got to be for movies of at least a certain length, but do you like the idea of a standard intermission? Or no? Like, maybe you find that really distracting the film. I want to hear your thoughts. Jump into the comment section below and let me know. All right, what's next?
Yeah, you guys came up with a good compromise, though. I think everyone can get into that. Griffin, my question is about Endgame. Do you think that because so many characters are likely gone from most of the film from the snap, the Russos have actually made an even better movie than Infinity War? They don't have to manage that insane juggling act with everyone and can instead tell a really different, almost intimate, character-driven story. What do you think?
Robert, you and I talked a little bit yesterday on The Weekly Hero. By the way, the new episode of The Weekly Hero is now up. Go and check that out. We talked about, could this be the best MCU movie yet? And we talked about some give and takes. But they bring up a really interesting question here. For at least a significant segment of this movie, we are going to have significantly less characters than what we did in Infinity War. Do you think that plays to the Russos' advantage in them making this movie, or do you think that can be a detriment, or do you really see it as an either-or?
Well, I think, look, what's been great about the MCU from the beginning is the characters. I mean, remember from the opening moments of Iron Man, you fell in love with Robert Downey Jr. when he's giving the arms demonstration in the Middle East, and his arms are outstretched as the blowback from the the explosion happens. So I think the characters are the core of what makes this movie great. But who's to say the movie opens that way? What if the movie opens and it says like 1996, and it's a flashback to when we first saw Captain Marvel? Like, we don't know how this movie opened.
That's true.
I mean, we've talked about like what's happened post snap, but I would say we've seen flashbacks all through the MCU. There's been flashbacks. I think maybe the movie will open that way, but I think all bets are off. I think that we're going to get a movie that we can't even begin to imagine the delights in store for us.
Well,
but that being said, I think dealing with the we've never seen the aftermath really. We saw a little bit of it in like Batman v Superman when you saw Bruce Wayne's reaction to the Battle of Metropolis,
right. Which I thought was great.
Fantastic. I think we're gonna have superheroes with PTSD, unlike we've ever seen before, because that's a new thing, and it gives it's natural and it's perfect for this film. So I think the characterizations are going to be key to how they're all responding. I mean, clearly, Ronan, Hawkeye, who's now Ronan, it looks like, did not have a good reaction. So presumably his family's gone. That's got to be rough.
At least one. At least one. Maybe all of them. And they have delved a little bit into the PTSD stuff before, like Iron Man 3, which I thought was one of the more interesting things they did in that film. I'll tell you what. You and I have both said for a while that we believe everything we've been seeing in whatever Avengers Endgame material that they've released is probably from the first 20 minutes of the film,
yes.
Right? And I still believe that. I think that is the case. Now, you're right. Who knows? Who knows? But if I had to put $5 on it, I'm going and guessing, yeah, the first 20, 25, 30, maybe even the first hour. If this movie does come in close to 3 hours long, maybe even the first hour of this film is going to be greatly reduced. And I'll tell you what, yes, this will make this a better movie. And I'll tell you why it's going to make it a better movie. Because as great as Infinity War was, and I love Infinity War, one of the things I said is, one of the things that wasn't so strong was there was no real character exploration in this, other than maybe Thanos. Like with Tony, it was just, here's the Tony you know and love. With Cap, and by the way, there's not as much Tony as you think in that movie when you really sit down and count it out. Here's the Cap you already know and love. And by the way, there's not all that much Cap. They give us a few fleeting moments with Witch and Vision, but really not much. Very, very little. Now, they made the most that they could with what little screen time every single character got. But I'm telling you what, with this story the Russos have now built up to this point, now you remove minimum half the characters out. And we can spend that first hour, maybe hour and a half, maybe 30 minutes, I don't know, just really getting more intimate about what did this do? What did the snap do to people? And now, instead of having to spend, okay, we got 20 seconds to spend on Black Panther. Now we got 20 seconds to spend on Doctor Strange. Now we got 20 seconds. No. Now we can see, I want to see Hawkeye. And I want us to be able as an audience to marinate in his pain for a little bit. And I want to be able to see that because we saw a shot of Cap in a support group. Right. I want us to have some time to spend with him in that and to feel that. And I think with the Russo brothers, give themselves that sort of more leeway and time to go character rather than just next thing. I think they're going to make this even better than Infinity War. And I absolutely think the fact that they're going to have so much of this film with half the characters is going to make this a better film, and the Russos are going to crush it.
I have a prediction. I have no reason. I have no knowledge of anything, but there's that one shot we talked about Thor, whether he's holding Stormbreaker or not.
And by the way, some people kind of point out to me that they think it probably was.
Well, he's walking out into what looks like where Thanos is. Infinity War began with Thanos decimating the Asgardians.
Yes.
What if this movie opens with Thor going to have a conversation with Thanos? He finds where Thanos is. He walks through his house. Thanos is, tilling the fields or whatever the hell he's doing. And it's Thor.
He's got his armor up as a scarecrow.
Yeah, he's got his armor up as a scarecrow, and Thor walks and goes and finds him, in the fields. He's like Picard in All Good Things, tending his vineyard. What if there's that kind of an opening, and Thor's like, "Are you happy?" And Thor sets the stage and goes, "Here's where the universe is right now." And runs it down.
It's just chaos and it's sadness.
Yeah, it's horrible, and that's how the movie opens. Whew. Just a conversation between the last time we saw these two characters. It began and ended with them kicking each other's asses. Thor, and why wouldn't this movie begin with them having a conversation?
Look, and if Chris Hemsworth, first of all, I'm in love with this idea, and if Chris Hemsworth could bring to a scene like that what he brought in that scene between Thor and Rocket, talking about what else do I have to lose, which is, by the way, maybe one of the finest moments in the MCU ever, was that conversation between Thor and what Chris Hemsworth brought to that scene. Maybe the best scene of acting in any of the MCU. Listen to Russo brothers talk about that scene in the director's commentary. It's almost like they're falling over themselves. That would be amazing. And the great thing is, because we don't have 18 other characters we have to get to, we could spend 5 minutes in that conversation. 7 minutes instead of like a quick 30, because now we got to go.
Can you imagine? Thanos is like, take a shot.
Yeah,
He just
I've already
stands-
done. I'm happy.
You know, and then Thor can't do it, and then Thor just like turns around and walks off. You know, this beautiful bucolic environment, and there's Thanos. What are you going to do?
And the
I'm getting
gauntlet
chills
is
thinking about
ruined.
it.
The gauntlet's ruined.
Right.
You know, the Russo brothers said the gauntlet's permanently damaged. That doesn't mean they can't do something with it, but I mean, maybe Thor went there to get the gauntlet to try to fix everything, and Thanos is like, take it. It's useless now.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. There's so many great things, but bottom
Because
line,
that would end that question.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
Thor
it would.
looks at the gauntlet. Maybe the gauntlet's on the Scarecrow. We just haven't seen it.
Right.
You know, and go ahead. It's right there.
Take it.
And I mean, what a great way to open a quiet moment. I don't know. But I think I just saw that shot of Thor going out. I'm like, I bet he's going to talk to Thanos.
What a scene.
I know, right?
What a scene.
But by the way, I have no knowledge of this, so don't write. Oh, Burnett has a good theory. It's not a theory.
But
it's
it's a theory. It's not.
Okay,
It's not
okay,
insider
you're right.
information.
It's a theory. It's
just
not.
a theory.
You're right. It's just a theory.
But the bottom line, getting back to the question, is this: yes, I do believe that the basic foundation that the Russos have given themselves less characters to deal with for at least a significant chunk of the movie
Right.
is going to allow them to really get into character. Because when you look what they did with character stuff in Winter Soldier, if they can bring that element into this, I don't see why there's any reason to assume that that won't help them make this an even better film than Infinity War. I'm excited. I cannot wait.
I can't wait for this movie.
It's 77 days away, ladies and gentlemen. It is 77 days away. Break out your Christmas calendars with your little pieces of candy on each day.
Why
that
don't
you
they
pluck
make an
off of
Avengers Advent
They
calendar?
totally should.
For the last month before the movie
They
opens.
totally should.
I want the Lego Advent Avengers calendar.
All right, let's move on now to not as exciting news. What's next?
All right. I just want to watch you guys watch this movie at this point. The
Yeah,
excitement
it'll
is
probably
just
be a sight.
emanating off of you.
It'll probably be a sight.
Ryan Lewis, I read an article which stated that World War Z 2 was scrapped by Paramount due to budget concerns. Have you heard anything official about this? It's a bummer in my opinion, as I loved the first movie and I was super excited for the upcoming sequel.
You know, World War Z is an interesting film in the sense that it was one of those movies that it was a disaster. It was before, when they were trying to make that film, it was a disaster. They ended up redoing the entire second two acts. It blew up its budget, all this kind of stuff. They brought in a different director. They kicked out the director they had. They did all this kind of stuff. And it was one of the first times when you had that kind of chaos going on and the end result was good.
Yeah.
I thought World War Z was a good, solid movie, and they saved that film, and it ended up making over $500 million at
Yes,
the
it
box
did.
office. It ended up being a legitimate hit, which has left a lot of us going, what's taken so damn long? Now, they said for a while what was holding it up was it Fincher that was supposed to be directing the new one? Is that who it was?
Yep.
That Fincher was just still hard at work on season 2 of
Mindhunter.
Mindhunter. They said once he's done that, full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. And they were working on pre-production on the film and all that kind of stuff. Well, now apparently 3 months before filming is supposed to begin, they've pulled the plug. The reported reason they're saying is that the studio's gotten a little bit nervous over just how big the budget has ballooned. And I get it, because with all the drama of the last one, it's been so long since the last one, there's no guarantee that you're going to get that much back at the second time around. And they don't want to find themselves in the same situation that they did before. We don't know all the information. We don't know, was the money they were asking for to put into this movie unrealistic? Was it reasonable and the studio's just being cheap? Or is the studio not being cheap and they're just like, you are asking for way too much money for this, blah, blah, blah. We may never know. We may never know. But I do know this. If you're going to pull the plug on the movie, now's the time to do it. Not 1 week before production starts. So I'll tell you what, who knows? Maybe they get this movie going again. I personally hope they do at some point because, like I said, I liked the first one. And I would like to see where they go. And I'm a fan of Brad Pitt, and I love seeing him in these movies. I thought that was a good role for him. But right now, it don't look good. Robert, your reaction when you heard about this?
You know, look, I have a sort of a love-hate relationship with World War Z, the movie, because I'm a huge... Romero's original Dawn of the Dead is one of my favorite films of all time, not just horror films. And Max Brooks, Mel Brooks' son, wrote the book World War Z. And
I didn't realize that was Mel Brooks' son.
yes, it's Mel Brooks' son.
I did not realize
and
that.
And the book, I don't normally recommend books on tape. The book is nothing like the movie. It is a documentary approach to what they call the zombie war after the fact.
Right.
If you want to hear, if you guys like Walking Dead and you like zombies, the audiobook of World War Z is actors, some of them you know, playing the characters in the book, and each chapter recounts like different things that happened all over the world.
Right.
It is so good. And J. Michael Straczynski, who created Babylon 5, wrote the original World War Z draft that actually adapted the book,
Right.
that they totally threw out. And the movie bears no resemblance at all to the original source material. And it really bummed me out because I love the book. And I love David Fincher. He's one of my favorite directors. He's such a perfectionist, and he's great with actors and great with camera. And I really was looking forward to this because I hated the movie when I first saw it. But then I kind of liked it if I divorced my mind from the fact that it was based on this book that I loved.
Right.
And I came to it on its own terms. I mean, there's a lot to like in World War Z. And I wanted to see the sequel. And I wanted to see Fincher direct the sequel. And I'm bummed about this. I wanted to see it happen. But Paramount doesn't have a whole lot of money. They're kind of hanging on by a thread. They probably like...
And look, tightening the purse strings is what has kind of sidelined. And look, and I am all for studios acting more fiscally responsibly. I'm all for that. And I kind of admire that. That's what's going to keep you around a long time. But you're absolutely right, because we're seeing that play out with Star Trek. It's like, hey, we simply can't make these movies, guys, if you don't take, if you want to get paid that much, we can't do it. This movie's another example. I mean, they just had a bit of a windfall with Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Which, good for them. That was great. But, I mean, they do got to be careful. You know, it is funny because I found a lot of the people I know who didn't like World War Z were ones that were also fans of the book.
Yeah.
And then I was somebody who never read the book, and I just watched the movie for the movie. I didn't have any pre-existing expectation. I just liked it for what it was. So it's really, see, you do what more film fans need to be able to do. You need to be able to see it in context and say, okay, now I'm going to divorce what I know about the property and just watch the movie for what it is. That's what more film fans need to do.
Well, it's interesting because adaptation is an art form. And there's still people that are bitching that Tom Bombadil wasn't in the Lord of the Rings franchise. And I'm like, look,
3
man,
hours
you gotta
wasn't long
lose. You gotta lose something, and I think Tom Bombadil is an extraneous character in a movie version of that. Something's got to go.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm already waiting to hate HBO's Watchmen series. But Watchmen's one of my favorite. Watchmen's one of my favorite comics in the world, and I'm very curious about what they're going to do. If I divorce myself from the holy gospel that is Alan Moore's Watchmen, and then can sort of watch it on its own, I think that's a better way to live your life, to be honest.
All right, let's move on to the next email. What's next?
Yes, David Fincher is so good. I mean, every single, The Game, Social Network. I mean, he did Seven. He's
Gone
incredible.
Girl. I watch The
Mindhunter.
Social Network religiously. It's one of the most compulsively rewatchable movies ever, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Next up is from Joseph G. Hi, John. Yeah, it still sucks that Kevin Hart isn't hosting the Oscars, but did you hear that The Rock said that he was actually the first choice to host? He also said that he was already planning the show with producers, but he had to back out because of Jumanji. Do you think there's any chance he could still do it, and how do you think he could? What do you think, John?
All right, so just to put Joseph's email in context, let's actually take a look. So somebody got on Twitter and asked Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, hey, do you think you could host the Oscar or whatever? And this is what Dwayne Johnson said. I'm a hollow dude. I was their first choice to host this year, and my goal was to make it the most fun and entertaining Oscars ever. We all tried hard, but couldn't make it work since I'm shooting Jumanji. Academy and I were super bummed, but maybe one day down the road. I thought this was interesting because a few people were asking, what do you think about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson hosting the Oscars? And I didn't know how he would do, but I mean, there's certainly, you're talking about the most electrifying, charismatic star in Hollywood today.
Yeah.
This guy's smile could carry an audience for 15 minutes of silence, right? It certainly could have been interesting. Now, there is a commitment. If he wanted to do something specific with the Oscars, there would have been a time commitment. And yes, he's shooting Jumanji, and that's got to take priority, blah, blah, blah. I do find it odd, though, a little weird, that in the midst of all the Kevin Hart stuff, who he works with quite frequently.
I thought he was trolling Kevin Hart.
It
when he
almost
said
felt
this.
like he was saying, well, he didn't just say, well, you know, the Oscars approached me. And no, he had to go out of his way and say, I was their first choice.
Right.
Just so everybody knows, I was the first choice before Kevin. I thought maybe that was a piece of the puzzle he could have let out. But listen, getting back to the thing, could he still do it? No, it's way too late in the game at this point. He wouldn't be able to do it. I would love it. How do I think he would do? I think he would do great, especially if you bring a good team of writers to help him out along the way. I think his natural charm and charisma, he's a legitimate movie personality. I think it would have been great. I also think if Kevin Hart would have been pretty damn good too, but I think it would have been great with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I just don't think it's going to happen. I just don't know why he had to throw in there. I was their first choice. But hey, whatever. What do you think about this?
Wouldn't it be cool if the Oscars actually do have a host and they're just keeping it secret? I mean, they're probably not, but wouldn't it be cool if they did?
You know what? It would give nobody time to dig up dirt on whoever they picked to be their host.
And people would just watch the Oscar ceremony. There could be, I mean, what does it say about our society that we're just going to start looking into everybody's past? I mean, I can't imagine the horrors people would uncover about my own life when they saw things I did in college, especially on spring break.
Okay, I am the host of the Oscars. I didn't want to tell you guys, but
it's been revealed. Spread the news, guys. It's been revealed.
We're going to live in a world, that is no one's even going to want to go out of their house or talk to anybody else. It's going to be terrible. What's going to happen when the millennial generation comes of age and everything they've done is on Instagram? And how are they going to get jobs doing anything? I don't know.
I'm not going to share that. Okay, so anyway, this is
we can't share it on this show, John.
Mind mouth filter. Okay, sometimes it doesn't work. Today I'm gonna engage that little thing, but I do think he would have done a great job. Like, how do you think Dwayne would have done as
He would have done great. I mean, look, you see him hosting. Have you watched the Titan games?
Yes. Yeah,
I've seen
pretty
clips
fun.
of that. It's fun, but he walks out like you said, and he just lights up the room with that giant smile of his. He always reminds me of somebody that anybody could go up to. You could be having the worst day of your life, and if you walked up to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he would figure out a way to turn your mood around.
I'll tell you
He's
what,
like that kind of guy.
the first time I interviewed Dwayne Johnson, it was for his G.I. Joe movie. It's a shame, but it was for his G.I. Joe movie.
There's a hot toy of him.
And is there?
Yeah.
Really? That's fun.
Yeah.
So I go into the room, and my wife and Ray were have been wrestling fans since they were kids, and she dug up this old one of the original Dwayne Maivia, that's his real name, right? Ray Maivia. Rocky Maivia. Rocky Maivia was his original, because his family is a long line of wrestlers as well, but she cracked out one of these original T-shirts of his from when he was a wrestler. So I wore that in, and I go in to meet him, and he just stands there, I haven't seen that in years. He's like, and sitting down, and I start talking with him, and he can just, you're right, he can make you feel like $1 million. Because one of the things I was asking him, I asked him one of these questions. I said, Dwayne, the audience just seems to really embrace you in these movies. They just really have a good time with you, and you have a way of transcending, particularly a genre like this one in action. Like, what is it that makes you click with this sort of genre and click with the audience so much? And he pauses, he starts to laugh, he goes, so basically, what is it that makes The Rock so great? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, and it was just charming. And we ended, by the way, I've done 1,000 of these press junket interviews, and quite often they'll reach over and we done their interview, goes, done. He gets up, walks over, shakes my hand, man, thanks so much for coming in. Love that question. Love that shirt, man. Thanks for made me feel real special, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you don't have to do that.
Right.
But he just did. And it just, you're absolutely right. He can make you feel like $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of those behind the scenes videos where he meets kids that wanted to meet him, and he does a lot of that. And look, I get it. It's all sort of propaganda, but you can also tell. You can tell. And he loves it. I mean, he's been, since the wrestling days, he's a born performer.
He's an entertainer.
And that's what entertainment does. That's what great entertainers do. They entertain all the time.
All right.
It's to the point where I don't even want anyone that I love to host the Oscars, because I don't want them to be broken down, though. Like, that is so sad, I'm like, I don't want him to do it, because if he has one misstep or, a flat joke, then people are going to be like, me. And
well, Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah.
I actually thought, I was a little dubious about him being picked. I thought Seth MacFarlane did a great job hosting the Oscars. I thought he was quite funny, and he got slaughtered. And I was just like, man, and no one's really been given a passing grade ever since.
I met him a couple times because we work with him on the Star Trek The Next Generation Blu-rays. He is a born song and dance man.
Yes.
No, that's obvious,
that's what he is.
I've met him.
He should be like a Broadway star, and I feel the same way about him. Is he's a born entertainer, and he really loves what he does.
I went to the 200th anniversary of Family Guy's party as a caterer. Like, this was one. This was a couple years ago.
I'm going to guess it was the 200th episode.
What did I say? Yeah, episode.
200th
Anniversary.
No.
Sometimes it seems that way.
Yes, episode. And he got up there and did a song and dance, and I was blown away. I mean,
Yeah.
and then he was using all of his different voices. But everything was like throwback. He's like, hello, my baby. You know, he just has that in him.
Yeah.
So.
At the last Comic-Con, at the park that's connected to Comic-Con right behind the convention center, there was this big thing about all the events coming up in this park that's right on the water. And one of them later that year was Seth MacFarlane doing, with a full orchestra, just doing the Big Show hits.
Yeah.
And that was the show. So anyway, we got way off topic.
Sorry.
All right, what's
Yep.
next?
All right, Janice Miller. One of my favorite movies from last year was Halloween. It was amazing and scary and exciting and creepy all at the same time. I also really loved Narcos Mexico. Anyway, I just read that Narcos Mexico writer Scott Teems is writing the sequel for Halloween. What are you expecting from the next film, and what do you think Teems will bring to it?
Well, first of all, this Halloween film, I'm not a Halloween fan. Not a whole. I don't even like the original Halloween. I think it's tiredly overrated and doesn't hold up well. But almost everybody I know completely loves and adores it, and certainly all the sequels sucked and all this kind of stuff. But
Except 3
so I go
and 2.
and all of them. I go into seeing the most recent Halloween. The trailers, I thought, yeah, the trailers are good, but it's not. I really enjoyed this Halloween film. I loved this Halloween movie a lot. I thought it was really fresh. There was just enough of a wink to the audience with what they were doing, while also making it like shocking or whatever. That stuff in the bathroom, that scene in the bathroom, that gas station, like it just felt so visceral and all that kind of stuff. And I really enjoyed this movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from there. I read this stuff about this guy, Narcos Mexico, but I read a little bit more into it. I believe the dude, Teems or Teams, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name, he really hasn't written much. I think he's got 4 credits. One of them is Narcos Mexico, but it was only 1 episode.
Right.
He wrote one. Now, I'm with you. I actually thoroughly enjoyed Narcos Mexico. Me and Ann binged the entire season when we were in Canada on Christmas vacation. Love Narcos Mexico. But he did just do the one. So I'm going to say that's not necessarily a bad thing, but not necessarily a good thing either. So right now, I am kind of agnostic when it comes to how do I feel about the choice of the writer. Neither good nor bad. It's whatever. Let's see what they do. But as far as the movie itself goes, I'm actually just quite excited that there's practical movement on getting the sequel out, because I really did like that new one. What do you think about all this, Rob?
Well, I got a bit of sports trivia and Halloween trivia all rolled into one for you.
Ooh.
The first time I watched Halloween, it was the very first pre-recorded video cassette I ever owned.
Wow.
And the first time I watched it with current Utah Jazz coach Quinn Snyder.
Really?
Who I grew up with. We went to elementary school, junior high, high school. He lived basically in my neighborhood. So, I knew him my whole life. And one day he came over. I said, Quinn, you got to check this out. And we watched it in the middle of the day. I thought it was terrifying. I loved Halloween. So I've seen Halloween like 100 times because, I showed it to every kid in my neighborhood and all that. This was there was Halloween H2O 20 years ago with Jamie Lee Curtis coming out, and the whole Halloween, it's so convoluted as a franchise. But like you, I was really dubious of this movie, and watching it it gave me this nostalgia feeling. I'm like, okay, it's like they went back and they got rid of all the weird continuity and just made it a direct sequel to the original movie, or Halloween 1 and 2, I guess, but it's really the original film, and I liked it. Like I was ready to my knives were out. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about this movie, but it was one of those movies that was made with reverence that I liked. I mean, if you're going to reboot something, the same way it's not as effective as Creed, but when I watched Creed, you could tell Ryan Coogler really loved the Rocky franchise.
You can tell.
And I really do feel, that Danny McBride and was it Glenn? I want to say Glenn Gordon Caron, but it's not Glenn Gordon Caron. I think they did it's an honorable sequel to Halloween. But I think it would be really cool to drop Michael Myers behind enemy lines into the cartels and just have Michael Myers just take out a Mexican drug cartel, because wouldn't that be cool?
They just got him in this giant cage on a plane, and then they just open the back of the plane, drop it with a parachute and a timer that unlocks the door. It's like, don't worry, there won't be any more of the cartels. And 3 weeks from now, there will be. I want to see that movie now.
Or the cartels turn Michael Myers and figure out a way to send him back over the
They
border.
get him addicted to coke. Yes.
Yeah, so they supercharge him.
You guys are turning him
Supercharge
into a Winter Soldier.
That's right. Mike Myers is the Winter Soldier. He's the new Winter Soldier. I got to see that. All right, guys. That will do it for all of our main topics today. But, we do this show live. And since we do it live, why not take some live questions? A bunch of you guys have been firing in a bunch of them. So let's jump over there right now. What's first, Ashley?
First up is Stubby McShave. Superman's weaknesses are his code of honor, his estrangement from humanity, Lois Lane, and kryptonite. Most of his stories center on those things.
Yeah, and it's the ones that revolve around as a character, his perceived weaknesses. Now, it's not the physical weaknesses one. It's not the kryptonite stuff. Yeah, I'm also a little over the Lois Lane, kind of thing too. But it's those other ones, particularly the stuff about his own estrangement from his adopted home.
Right.
And that's the thing that I appreciated most about Superman Returns. But I agree with you, Stubble, and I think that's when it's at its best. What do you think?
No, I agree too. I mean, one of the things I loved about Superman Returns was the idea that the world is always crying out for a savior. Like, how would Superman? What if the world turned against him and said, "You could be doing so much more for this"? How would Superman explain? Well, my father told me I couldn't interfere with human history, but Superman could be saving the planet everywhere, all day, every day, but he doesn't. But what if you made a movie about the fact that we turned on him because he won't? That could be an interesting Superman movie.
All right,
He
what's
wouldn't
next?
punch anyone.
Greedo Shaw. Han had it coming because he shot first. Thank you, Deckard Shaw, for avenging your poor Rodin second cousin Greedo.
Poor Greedo.
You can't
Poor
cross the
Greedo.
you can't cross the franchise streams like that.
Well, he
Can't do
just
that.
did. All right, what's next?
Vindershin. I just watched the first season of Titans. It was good, but don't know why they decided to go all edgy with the show. Could have been a great family fun, but I can't let my kids watch it.
Well, look, I still haven't seen it, so I cannot say whether it's good or bad. There's only two things I can say. Number one, I've talked to a number of people who've seen it, and they seem to think it's pretty good. Number two, it looked like a total bag of dog shit. I mean, I just remember they dropped that first trailer. The biggest mistake they ever made was dropping that first trailer, where they've got Robin going, "Fuck Batman." It's like, oh my God, it just looks so desperate, and they just should not have put that out. And I remember saying when I first saw it, I said, I bet when we see that scene in context in the show, it won't play nearly as cheesy. And everybody says, yeah, it plays much better in the context. It was such a mistake. But look, I'm going to get around to watching this. The problem is I'm not going to pay for the Disney streaming service for a show I didn't think looked any
You mean
good.
DC streaming service?
What did I say?
Disney.
Oh, sorry, DC's. Thank you. I'm not going to pay for a new streaming service for a show that I didn't even think looked any good. I will get around to watching it because so many people are saying it's actually pretty good. But I'm waiting for Swamp Thing, or maybe they've got their new one with Robot Man.
Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol. Maybe once they get that going. Now there's a couple of originals on there. Okay,
Yeah.
now I'll do it and I'll check it out. But you haven't seen Titans yet either, have you?
No, and the thing is, the Marv Wolfman, George Perez run on Titans is one of my favorite superhero comic runs ever. And I don't want to say it's the most wholesome thing in the world because they dealt with like Wonder Girl's marriage to her husband Terry, and there was all kinds of things that one of the things I loved about that comic was ultimately it was a bright comic that was about these interpersonal human relationships that were beneficial to all involved. And like you, I watched this and I'm like, why are they doing this with the Teen Titans? I would have done
Titans,
it.
Robert. Titans.
Pardon me,
not
but
teen.
it goes into a direction that I thought was the opposite of what I liked about the series. But I do want to watch it. I mean, I will watch it. I just haven't watched it yet.
All right, what's next?
Sun Kang. Spoiler for Hobbs and Shaw. It will be revealed that Robert Meyer Burnett told Shaw where to find Han in Fast 6. I know it was you, RMB. You broke my heart.
I knew it. It's all been a giant facade. It's all been a facade. You hate Han.
I would never
You
do that
hate
to my
him
boy
so
Han
much.
or my boy Sun Kang, who I've never met, who should be on the show one day, sitting right here to defend justice for Han.
By the way, I love the Godfather Part 2 reference.
That was
in
great.
there.
I mean,
you broke my heart, Fredo. You broke my
for
heart.
those who haven't seen The Godfather 1 and 2 or say they're overrated, I don't know what's wrong with you people.
All right, what's next?
Vrenderson again. I enjoy Gotham a lot. My favorite character is the Penguin, played by Robin Taylor. Wow, he's so great in the role. Does he impress you?
I'll tell you what, Gotham is a show to me that is very much hit and miss.
So hit and miss.
Very, very hit and miss. To me, the funny thing is that show works its best when it's focused on James Gordon trying to protect the city of Gotham.
Right.
When they started getting into this, look, guys, don't forget this kid becomes Batman. Batman, and they try to make it a Batman show. That's when it didn't work for me. When they focused on Gordon and the crime lords and all that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you what, one of the consistent things I have always liked about the show is the Penguin character. Robin Taylor, you know what's funny? I even got notified. I had Robin Taylor's PR guy get a hold of me. This is just after Gotham started, saying, hey, like, would you like to do an interview? And it's like, I don't really do interviews anymore, so no. But I'll tell you what, I would take that today because I really do think he has been one of the most consistently good things about that show. And I love the way the direction they took the character in. And when they had Pee Wee Herman as his father, and did all this stuff. That was all really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And he's been one of the more consistent things. All right, what's next?
Ben Jesus says that video of Reynolds and Jackman is the funniest thing I've seen on the internet in a long time. Plus, I thought it would have been the other way around.
If you have not seen this new video that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have put out together on social media, first of all, these guys' back and forth for the last couple of years has been gold. This is the crown jewel of what they have done. For those of you who haven't seen it, they proclaim a truce. And because, Ryan Reynolds has his Aviator gin, and now Hugh Jackman has his Laughing Man coffee. And they said, we decided to bury the hatchet, and we made promotional spots for each other's products, right? And it starts with Ryan Reynolds doing one that is world class, just amazing, talking great about Hugh Jackman. It looks like a great commercial. And it ends.
Don't say it. Make people watch.
Just go watch it. Just go watch it.
Because it, like you said, dude, it's so good.
You got to watch it.
It's so good.
It's just, and watch it right to the very last second. Watch it right to the last second. But yeah, do go check that out. All right, what's next?
Ben Jesus, that new Pet Sematary trailer gave me chills. I still have the memories of that original giving me the creeps as a kid. I cannot wait for this one.
Your thoughts?
It looks great. I mean, it looks really, really good. And I think that the first film didn't do, as much as I like Mary Lambert as a director, I think the first film didn't do the book justice. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, what's next?
Ben Rayner, there's a whole crowd of people out there who need to learn how to do the scam. Scarn.
The Scarn. Threat Level Midnight, ladies and gentlemen. Threat Level Midnight from The Office. One of the funniest moments ever in that show. I just don't know what else to say about it other than you got to watch it. You got to watch it. All right, what's next?
Ant Banks, 1984. Not going to lie, when they play the Avengers theme in Endgame and all the Avengers are alive and together in one shot, I'm going to shed man tears.
Well, speaking of man tears, Rob, you take this one for a second. I need a drink. I'm going to refill my soda. So go ahead, take that one. Go. I'm so professional.
Well, let me just say, first of all, who are you to say that you're going to see all the Avengers come back in Endgame? I'm just saying that we don't know what's going to happen. And that's one of the great things I think about the film. We just don't know. And I want to see one thing in this movie, and we have not seen it yet. Somebody has got to scream, and I hope it's Cap, Avengers Assemble. And then I want to see the Avengers come together in an epic shot, or at least the Avengers that still remain.
Oh, do you?
I would like to see that. I would like to see that happen. I don't know if we're going to see that, but hey, it would be a lot of fun if we did.
Sorry, my throat is getting
I want to see Avengers Assemble. That's all I want from this movie.
By the way, it's got to be Cap. It can't be anybody else. It has to be Cap. We've been waiting ever since the first Avenger.
I know.
For Cap to proclaim. They teased us with it at the end of Age of Ultron. He says Avengers, and then screen goes black and credits roll. You've got to give it to us. You have to give it to us.
I need to see. I mean, although I will say this, I thought for sure in Age of Ultron, one of my favorite panels in any comic book is when it's from Avengers 22, Kurt Busiek and George Perez, when they're attacking Ultron and they smash the door down and all the Avengers are just bloody and ripped up. And Thor says, Avengers? He says, Ultron, we would have words with thee.
Oh, yeah.
And then they didn't do it in the movie. I'm like, what? Joss Whedon let me down. That was the only thing he let me down in because I love Age of Ultron. But man, I wanted that.
All right, what's next?
Tyler Yates finishing up the Bundy tapes, and yikes.
Yikes, indeed.
Oh, God.
You're the one who got me turned on to that, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and wow. What a guy he was.
What a guy.
I mean the sheer insanity of that dude, crazy. Yeah, that is a very disturbing show.
I gotta watch that.
Yeah, people gotta check this out.
I love like analyzing serial killers and psychological thrillers. That's more my thing than just slashers. But
and you'll hear it because there's a lot of him talking about it.
I don't know why I need to watch it, but I do.
All right, what's next?
Paul Diego, just sending some filthy. Keep up the good work, John and Rob.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Paul. Really appreciate that. Thanks, man. All right, what's next?
Gabriel Reed was supposed to start my directing class on Monday. Been looking forward to it for over a year and realized I'm going to be having reconstructive foot surgery on the same day. Then he goes on to say they had to reschedule it, which is fine, but now I have lots of time to binge the extended edition Lord of the Rings box set.
Nice.
Lemons, lemonade. Oh, my God. Reconstruct. I mean, look, whenever... I will confess, I am 6 years old at heart, and whenever I hear somebody say they have to have reconstructive surgery, I think there's a 5% chance they're going to come out of it with superpowers. I know I shouldn't think that way, but maybe something will go wrong and they'll accidentally drop a radioactive isotope into your toe bone and it'll turn you into Super Kick Man.
I just think when somebody has reconstructive surgery, I think about the great Canadian movie Rabid with Marilyn Chambers.
Oh, my
She was in a
God.
motorcycle
Yes.
accident, and
You're
because
going
of
back.
reconstructive surgery, she has a stinger under her arm that makes her suck the blood of people, and the people whose blood she sucks turn rabid.
I think it's Seinfeld when they drop a junior mint in somebody.
I remember what was that movie? What was that movie where it was only out about 7 years ago? I think it was a little horror movie where the girl's vagina was a monster.
I think it's called Teeth.
It was called Teeth.
It's
That's
called
the
Teeth.
one it was. Yeah,
Vagina
That was-
dentata.
Whew. All right.
Let's not talk about that.
What's next?
Chris Warden. I just read that Shazam's production budget is only $90 million, so basically anything over $500 million worldwide is considered a win for Warner Brothers, if my math is right.
400 would be a win.
Yeah.
400 would be a win. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I read some idiot online saying, "Oh, this movie won't make 800 million," and not as like I don't necessarily think it'll make 100 million, but it's like that they were inferring that it's a failure. Are you kidding me? Like, no, just because Aquaman made $1 billion or just because, Infinity War made $2 billion, that doesn't suddenly mean, if your movie doesn't make 800 million, it's no way. If this thing makes like 425, 450, at that point it's a win. And then anything over that, whether it's 600, 700, 800, however high it goes, is just all glorious, delicious gravy. That's all it is.
I don't understand this obsession that people have with whether a movie fails or succeeds monetarily. Look, The Shawshank Redemption was not a hit when it came out. As a matter of fact, it was a box office disappointment, and it's one of everyone's favorite movies. And isn't the movie itself what matters? Who cares how much it makes?
And I just remember this tweet, too. So there was somebody who was debating about the movie. He's like, that movie's going to flop. No way it makes $1 billion. Since when is not making $1 billion considered a flop? Like, I just, no. Shazam's going to be a win. It will be a win. The only question remains, how big of a win will it be? That's what we'll wait and find out.
Some people just can't handle Canto Bite. That's what I like to say.
Oh, don't go there. All right, what's next?
KW Garrett 83. Let's say that the Campea Show crew had a secret fight club. Who comes out on top? I have my money on Ray because the quiet ones are always the secret badasses.
Well,
I'm sitting out. I don't even want to fight. I'm sitting next to a former MMA fighter. No way.
look, I'll tell you what, though. You go into the man cave at Ray's house, it's all boxing gear. Like, he's got his treadmill there. He's got his heavy bags. He's got his speed bags. Ray's not somebody you want to mess with.
I just love to see your wife respond to when she finds out you beat the hell out of your brother-in-law. How would that go?
That would not be a conversation that would go over very well. No. First of all, she'll give us both hell for fighting in the first place, and that would neither of us want that.
I'll just be there and let me document it.
Because I'll tell you what,
fight.
Anne is 102 pounds of Filipina fury. She'll beat the shit out of all of us. So, like, make no mistake. She's up at 5 a.m. in the gym every morning. She's taking Muay Thai. She's like...
The Filipina Fury. I love that. Can I get a T-shirt?
102 pounds
We
got to
sell those shirts, man.
Yeah, you got to make one for her.
All right, what's next?
Travis Bickle, better LA 80s band, Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses?
Come on.
That's a fight to the death. It's Guns N' Roses.
It is Guns N' Roses.
I thought for sure you were going to go Motley Crue.
No, wait. When I look into your eyes, I can feel a love restrained. November Rain is the stairway to heaven of L.A.
November rain.
Oh, come on, man. Stephanie Seymour, whatever happened to that?
But
my
hey,
favorite Victoria's Secret model.
Hey, no shade on Motley Crue. They're legends. They're Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
They
They're
are,
legends.
but you know, they're like frat boys compared to the grad students that were Guns N' Roses.
All right. Grad students. All right, what's next?
Spencer Main. Hi, John. What, in your opinion, was the worst movie to ever win Best Picture? Mine is Crash, but there are some other ones like Shakespeare in Love.
And I'll tell you what, I'm in the minority. I really enjoy both Crash and Shakespeare in Love. I think Shakespeare in Love, look, it got a lot of hate because the year Shakespeare in Love won was also the year that Saving Private Ryan was out. And a lot of people got to be in their bonnet. There's a saying we don't use very often. A lot of people got to be in their bonnet because Saving Private Ryan didn't win. But I'll tell you what, I think Shakespeare in Love is a magnificent film.
I am a big Shakespeare in Love lover. That film is great, and it's wildly entertaining, and Ben Affleck's in it.
Yeah, yes, it is.
And you know, not that I didn't love Saving Private Ryan, but you know, Saving Private Ryan has an incredible opening sequence, and then the rest of the movie kind of downshifts into a
very
traditional,
thoughtful, but very good.
Yeah, very good.
Very good.
And then it's got an incredible ending. But Shakespeare in Love was, I mean, that was a lot harder to do in my mind, to make that kind of a movie. But I think probably something like The Greatest Show on Earth was probably a movie that didn't deserve to win Best Picture. Older movies like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to think about what's of the movies that won Best Picture, which is the worst. It's really hard to think. But by the way, another little Shakespeare in Love piece of trivia. Both sets of two of the best sets of acting brothers were both represented in Shakespeare in Love. So you got Casey Affleck and Ben Affleck.
Right.
But even better than those two, and Casey's a tremendous actor, is Joseph Fiennes, whose brother is Ralph Fiennes. I don't know that there's ever been acting siblings, not the Gyllenhaals. No, I don't know that there's ever been acting siblings as good as Rafe and Joseph Fiennes. The two of them are just nuclear powerhouses. They're incredible performers.
Well, I love Rafe Fiennes can do no wrong in my book.
I agree.
Plus, he's Lenny Nero from Strange Days. But what I like to do to piss people off is show them my favorite double feature of Shakespeare in Love and The English Patient. Two best pictures nobody loves except me.
Two Fiennes brothers. Two Fiennes. By the way, a lot of people probably say English Patient too. I also love English Patient.
Great
love
movies,
The English
yeah.
Patient.
And Saving Private Ryan. I mean, that has one of the best death scenes of all time when he's trying to fix himself and tell them like how to fix the bullet holes in him. Oh my God, I can't even.
Brutal.
It stayed with me forever.
All right, what's next?
Spencer Smothers, have you seen the final trailer for Dumbo? It came out 2 days ago, and no one is talking about it. Not what you want when you release a final trailer.
I'll tell you what, Spencer. I didn't even know a new trailer came out.
It's an international. It's a UK trailer.
Oh, it's a UK internet. Okay, that's probably why it wasn't in my newsfeed. So
I
haven't seen it yet. Hey, look, I really like the trailers for Dumbo up to now.
It looks like a magical Dumbo movie.
But I'll just tell you what, the one big hesitation I have was that I'm not a big Tim Burton fan to begin with. Tim Burton. That's
what he's called.
That's
when he
MMA
comes in to
name.
fight you in here in the studio.
I'm not a
Wrestling name.
big Tim Burton fan to begin with. What he did with Alice in Wonderland, I will never forgive. That was awful. Not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I really thought what he
you're
did.
Disney and you made $1 billion.
I mean, it made a lot of money, but the movie was terrible.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little bit nervous. about that. But I will say, I think the trailers have looked great.
Yeah, and the cast is great.
The cast is wonderful. I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
You can't not be pulling for Dumbo.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Oh, this is so sweet. Trevor Johnson, it's a two-parter. Hey, John, last February I asked you how long I should wait to wife my girlfriend since she wanted to get wings.
Wife
and
is a verb, apparently.
I love that.
Wife her up.
I got to wife my GF, yo. What's up?
Wife that chick up. Since she wanted to get wings and watch Black Panther for Valentine's Day, you gave your advice of living together a year. Well, we did that, and we got engaged yesterday. We're both big fans. Thanks for the advice.
Hey, congratulations,
Congrats.
Trevor. That is awesome. And yes, any girl who's going to tell you guys that for Valentine's Day, let's order some wings and watch some Black Panther, that's a keeper.
We've got to make John Campea Show shirts that say "Wife your girlfriend."
Wife your
GF. Wife your I love that. That's my new favorite term.
When to wife your GF. Like, that would be
When to wife your GF.
Wife is apparently a verb now. And yeah, my two greatest pieces of dating advice are, number one, movie and dinner, not dinner and a movie. That's advice piece number one. But the other one I always tell people is, and I set this rule for myself years ago, even before I met Ann, it was this: I am going to live with somebody for 1 year before considering getting married. And so, yeah, Ann and I dated for a year. Then we moved in together. We lived together for a year. And then we got married.
I hope they send us pictures of their
Trevor,
nuptials, or
please
if they had an
do.
engagement party or something.
Hey, I've officiated weddings before. You need somebody to officiate weddings? Send me an email. Let me know. There we go with that.
Wife your girlfriend. That's
Wife
the
your
greatest thing
girlfriend.
ever. Wife your GF.
You guys haven't heard wife her up? Like wife her?
I have
No.
not heard that. No, I've never heard it, wife as a verb.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, you gotta wife that girl. Oh, come on, guys. All right, try.
You gotta learn.
We're
What's
old.
next?
Oh, I'm old.
Travis Bickle. One of my favorite graphic novels is Y, The Last Man, and it's officially ordered to series by FX. Very excited.
Yeah, believe it when I see it. Only because, first of all, Why the Last Man is great. But we also got official confirmation. The movie is happening. And it was going to be Shia LaBeouf was going to play the lead.
Right.
And the director of Eagle Eye, I'm trying to remember the
DJ Caruso.
DJ Caruso was going to direct it. And then it fell apart. And then it was officially announced again. Studios picking it up. They're getting screwed up, blah, blah, blah. And then they've been talking about bringing it to a series for a while. So I'm just, my heart has been toyed with too many times when it comes to Why the Last Man. I will believe it, not when it goes into production. I will believe it when it actually debuts. That's when I'll get invested
But
in
you
it.
know, Diane Lane is supposed to be in it.
Really? I didn't know
And
that.
Diane Lane, for any of you who grew up watching The Outsiders or Streets of Fire or Rumblefish, Diane Lane has been
She's Martha.
She's been my celebrity crush for going on 35 years now, and it has not abated one bit. I will watch anything Diane Lane is in, no matter what she does.
What was the movie?
And I loved Why the Last One. I read the whole thing.
One of the sexiest movies I've ever seen was about 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. It was the one where she's the married woman and she starts to have an affair with the younger guy. What's it called?
Unfaithful.
Unfaithful. Thank you. Like the doing good
With the
sensuality
Italian guy.
in a movie is tough. That's tough for a director to do. One of the sexiest movies I've ever seen. I love Diane Lane.
I mean, if you watch Rumblefish or you watch The Outsiders, or especially Streets of Fire, oh, God, was there ever a more beautiful woman than Diane Lane?
She's great. All right, what's next?
Cameron Byrne. Could we see a Marvel Knights universe with Disney?
That'd be cool. I mean, you know, they'd have to Ghost Rider, Marvel Knights. Yeah, we could. I think that'd be really neat. You know, but that's putting in things like The Punisher and Ghost Rider, maybe Moon Knight. It'd be cool.
And I got a feeling some of those are going to be in whatever this R-rated universe they might make for Deadpool. So who knows? All right, well, what's next?
Taki75. Agree with Rob. Thanos too popular now to kill.
Is that what you said? Is Thanos too popular to kill?
I didn't say he's too popular. I just think that he doesn't die in the comics. Kind of.
Well, he's died several times.
Yeah.
Let's be
I mean,
clear.
they
He
bring
has
him
died
back.
several
They bring
times
him
in
back.
the comics.
Besides Thanos in the comics, he loves death.
Yes.
That's what he wants. He wants to impress death.
I hope he's just having a really bad time, just like, playing with a stick in the sand. And
He was very pleased with himself. He was very pleased with himself at the end of Infinity War. All right, what's next?
Householder Films. Will Brandon Fraser ever have a huge comeback?
Well, you know what? He just was starring in that series about the kidnapping.
Oh, yeah.
They did. Mark Wahlberg did the movie of it, and the one they replaced Kevin Spacey in. Remember what was the one they pulled Kevin Spacey?
All the Money in the World.
All the Money in the World.
About Getty kidnapping.
So they just did a television series based on that same series, and Brendan Gleeson was in that. He's going to be playing Robot Man coming up. Although we're not going to see him. Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, Gleeson. You said Gleason.
Did I say Gleason?
Yeah, which I love. Another famous
That's
Brendan.
a totally different guy.
Although I'd like to see him as Robot Man.
I don't know that we're ever going to see a huge resurgence, but I'm just happy to see the dude working again because I've always liked him.
I have too. He was great in like Gods and Monsters.
Both Gleason and Fraser. I like them both. I want to see them both work together somehow. All right, what's next?
Undead 109. My PP plus hard equals when watching the John Campea Show. Thank you for the years of entertainment, John.
Wife up your GF. There's another one you can make a t-shirt out of, I guess. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you, Undead. All right, what's next?
Zachary Buckler. Do you think they could bring in the X-Men by having Magneto feel his forces are ready to come out of hiding, thus bringing out the X-Men? This is two-parter. The Avengers would then see them as a threat and maybe leading to Avengers versus X-Men. Just a thought. Team Shaw, Han had it coming.
Again, it's so out of continuity with what the X-Men...
Yeah.
This is the problem, is that you're either going to have to just completely scrap a huge part of the mythology of X-Men, because the whole core foundational thing about the X-Men is that they have been in society for a long time, and society hates mutants. And the political environments caused by the existence of mutant kind, which decades ago led Magneto down a certain path and led Charles Xavier down a certain path, you have to scrap all of that. And that's why I've always said it's going to be a very, very tough thing. Not impossible. Kevin Feige's a genius. They'll figure out a way. But I am not for this notion of, they just discovered mutants now. I'm not for that, because the whole richness of the meaning of the X-Men comes from that pre-existing context that you just are throwing away if you do it that way. But, I mean, adaptation is adaptation. So, I don't know. It's going to be tough. Either way they do it, it's not an easy puzzle to solve.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, they certainly can't make Magneto a concentration camp survivor anymore.
No.
He'd be too old. I mean, it would be more interesting. Like you had suggested maybe tying it in with civil rights somehow.
Yes.
Like, what if a character like Killmonger became Magneto? You know, and somebody who maybe not Killmonger himself, but a character like that, because they always talked about the Charles Xavier Magneto battle is Martin Luther King and
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X.
Yes.
And there could be something, you know, tied into the real world conflict like that somehow, but you've still got that time factor.
I made a suggestion a while ago that what you do
I thought it was a good experience.
is you get Denzel Washington to play Eric. And growing up in a lot of the eras of civil unrest and stuff like that, that he saw people doing unspeakable evils to other people that, much like the traditional Magneto, that just made him go, humanity, screw you. Like, humanity it's only mutants should be ruling the world because you guys are monsters.
Right.
And so you need a new context like that. Well, what if it was in America instead of a European? And that's what he saw. And he saw like atrocities committed during civil unrest in America, and you get a Denzel Washington playing that sort of a character. I think that could work, and staying faithful to the spirit of the comic. But again, difficult puzzle to put to piece
really
together.
is.
Difficult puzzle. All right, what's next?
Next, Murray Rich. I bought a ticket with the A-list to see a movie in an AMC dine-in theater, and they're still charging me $21 total. Does this make sense, or is it an error?
It's clearly an error. By the way, if you buy your ticket online, there is a little box. This is the way it is for me on my app. When you're buying a ticket online, there is a little box you got to make sure you check that says use one of your 3 A-list spots as for your ticket. And you got to make sure that's selected. If you do, it'll show $21 for the ticket, minus $21 for A-list, total due $0. Or maybe you accidentally put in 2 tickets, in which it counted your A-list and then you still got to pay for the other one. Or maybe you forgot to check that box, but clearly that's an error because I know that A-list does work for the dine-in theaters. All right, what's next?
Anthony Cullen. I think when Rob gets a new hot toy, he sings the song from The Little Mermaid. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete?
Okay,
And you should
someone
dance.
has been spying. Someone's
you
been
should
spying.
cosplay.
There's webcams in my house, clearly. How did you know this?
I think you should cosplay when you do that as well. All right, what's next?
I do it naked, which is worse.
TMI. Orange
Wife up your GF. All right.
Orange Hand. Any thoughts on Magicians Penn and Teller?
I like Penn and Teller very much.
I do too.
They had a show called BS or Bullshit, whatever, that I thought was really, like, very well researched, really well done. I like Penn and Teller.
I like the show where magicians try and stump them.
Yes.
I love that show. It's great.
And you know what? I go to Vegas like 6 times a year. I often stay at the Rio because I just really like the Rio. And Penn and Teller have a permanent theater in the Rio, and I've never gone to see a Penn and Teller show there.
Wow.
I need to get on that. I really do.
See, that's what Star Trek LV is every summer. The big Star Trek
Is that the
convention
Rio?
is the Rio.
By the way, it's also where the World Series of Poker is held every year that I go to every year. So
I had a big party at the Rio when I got married, but it didn't work out so well in the long run.
True story. True story. The Rio was also where the Academy of Web Television Awards were held when we won our first IAW TV award for Best Live Series Online. And it was at this big ceremony and it was held at the Rio in Las Vegas where they do all that stuff. And then I was so sick, I walked off stage, collapsed. They had to bring a wheelchair for me, took me back, and I was out of commission for I wasn't on my show for at least a month after that because I was deathly ill.
By the way, the people that know Las Vegas are looking at us going, I can't believe you guys are talking about the Rio.
And the
on.
convention center in the Rio is one of the best.
Yeah.
That's why they hold the World Series of Poker there every year.
They're like, why don't you guys go across the street to the Palm when you're going to Vegas?
Well,
Come
I
on.
normally stay at Caesars. I will go and I'll stay at Caesars a lot. So anyway, all right, what's next?
Jaron Morris. Tonight, SPN's 300th episode, The Return of John Winchester.
I cannot wait. Supernatural's 300th episode. 300 episodes. Crazy. I cannot wait. And it's great. It's going to be great to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan, because no matter what Jeffrey Dean Morgan's in the movies, to me he is always John Winchester. He will always be John Winchester, and I cannot wait to see him.
He's
back
a
in
good
that
Seattle boy, by the way.
Is he?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, yes.
Good on him. All right, what's next?
Murray Rich, what happened with Mark Ellis? Great comedian, by the way.
Nothing happened. He's no longer going to be hosting the show that I created. He's moving on because he is simply one of the best entertainers, I think, in the world. I mean, he's just an incredible entertainer, and he's got some really good things happening. And he just said he's got some great opportunities. The big unfortunate thing is, I put out a tweet either last night or this morning. I can't remember. That says, one of the smartest things I've ever done in my career, and I've done a couple, not many, but a few, was hiring Mark Ellis. The movie pundit space is losing probably the best pure entertainer we've ever had. There are a lot of guys who are very good at different things in this space, but as far as being a pure entertainer, Mark Ellis is he's simply the best. He's simply the best.
A truly gifted talent.
Yeah, and it's the film pundit space is losing a really great guy, and he's just going to go on and do amazing things.
He's also a really nice guy.
He's a very nice guy. Super nice guy. I like him a lot. All right, what's next?
Bennett Hardy, should I watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? # Justice for Han.
No, twice. Well, I mean, look, if you're a fan of the MCU stuff, yes, you should give Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a shot. There are people who like the show. There are people who like the show very much. I think it's a hot, steaming pile of dog shit. I just don't like the show. If it wasn't for Clark Gregg, I just would never give it the time of day. But Clark Gregg is great in it because Clark Gregg is great. Ming Na's also really good. But I don't like it. But there are a lot of people who do. So I would suggest that you give it a shot because you might find it is for you. All right, what's next?
Johnny 5, we're on a mission from God.
Blues Brothers,
so
we're on a
good.
mission from God.
It's so good.
I mean, it's one of the greats. It's one of the greats. Make sure you watch it. Blues Brothers 2000, maybe not so much. But watch the original Blues Brothers. All right, what's next?
HV3 9000. If Disney keeps Fox as Fox and keeps a rebooted X-Men, there could then bring Wolverine or other characters into the MCU. Say Doctor Strange goes into their dimension to go get them or something.
One of the things. These are movies and not the comic books.
Right.
While there are like CW, which is just the CW. I mean, come on. They do a bunch of multi-dimension stuff.
Yeah.
You can do that with your modest audience that exists on CW, and I get a kick out of it. Let's just do, we're going to get somebody from this dimension. That's not really something that'll go over with, I think, with an average movie-going audience for the most part, right? But what you're basically saying, HV, is correct. If, theoretically, they wanted to keep Fox intact and just keep an separate X-Men universe, you could cherry pick out characters from that and introduce them instead of being in that universe and being in the MCU. Theoretically, you could do that. Unfortunately, I don't think that's what's happening. I think the X-Men are going to be in the MCU. I don't think it's what they should do, but I think it is what they're going to do. And Kevin Feige will find a way to make it work. But in theory, yes, absolutely. The characters all belong to them. They can have an X-Men universe and say, but Wolverine isn't in that universe. Wolverine's in this. Bishop's not in that universe. He's in this. They can do that. It would absolutely be within their power to do it. But it's not what's going to happen. They're all going to be in the MCU.
I agree.
And I unfortunately have to concur with you. All right, what's next?
Maya Demi. Hi, John. Hope you'll have a lovely day. It's February 7th and 77 days to Endgame for me and my friends. No drinks. Who is thirsty? Not us, not us.
I don't know what that's from. What's that? Is that?
I don't know.
I don't know what that's from, but you're right. 77 days. Break out the calendar. Count down the cookies.
The Advent calendar.
By the way, we got another MCU movie coming before it.
I know.
And then like 2 months after, we got another one. We got Spider-Man Far From Home. It's like just this gluttony of great stuff.
It's crazy that like with Black Panther was still in theaters when Infinity War opened. We're going to have Captain Marvel in theaters when
and we're going to have Infinity, and we're going to have Endgame still in theaters when Spider-Man Far From Home comes out.
Yeah, it's
a great time.
Make it rain, make it rain.
All right, what's next?
Raymond Verada, new Shaft movie or Nick Fury before Endgame trailer?
I don't know what
joke. I think he's like saying, is that like him before Endgame?
Oh right, that's before Nick Fury took over Shield.
That's before Shaft took over Shield.
Yeah, Shaft took over Shield. Actually, I would love it if somebody mistook Shaft for Nick Fury and just brought him and just thought he had some reconstructive surgery and he was the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Shaft would be like, whatever. I'm going to see where this goes.
What if he gets into a fight, and Shaft gets into a fight, and then like for just 5 minutes of the movie, he's got to be wearing an eye patch, and somebody goes, "Hey," or something.
Yeah.
That could be funny. All right, what's next?
Alex Von Gullum. Hi, team. With respect to the consequences of the snap lasting, we might get our wish granted in a painful way. Example of Captain, Tony, and Hulk die, and reality is more rough scarring for everyone. Thoughts?
Could be.
Yeah, it's possible.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't think this movie is going to end with everyone singing Kumbaya. Sitting around
everything is awesome.
It's not going to be. It's not going to end that way. You don't kill half the sentient beings, half the creatures in the universe, and have it all end. Like the Voyager episode "Year of Hell."
Look. At least I hope. Look, you and I talked about this the other day, and I am a little bit nervous that they might do that. They might say everything bad is undone, and there were no consequences to anything that happened before, and everybody's happy and fine. What it reminds me of? This is a big problem. By the way, I'm about to give away a bit of a spoiler to the end of the Mary Poppins Returns. So if you haven't seen Mary Poppins Returns yet and you don't really want to know, Ash is over there plugging her ears. No. I'm going to give away a bit of a spoiler, but here's what it would kind of do to me, and here's how I'm equating these two. At the end of Mary Poppins Returns, the whole movie is basically about them. They need to find this deed that was given to them about shares they had in the bank in order to save their house and save their family. And the movie's this basically adventure to try to uncover this mystery, what happened to the deed proclaiming these shares and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. At the end of the movie, Dick Van Dyke comes out, but not as Bert. He's a different character who's like one of the patriarchs of the bank itself, and says, "I know this family. This family is a good family. I remember that they had those shares, and they get to keep their shares and keep their house, and yay!" And it rendered the entire movie pointless. The whole movie was for nothing, because at the end, Dick Van Dyke's character was going to come out and save the day. And it made and I remember sitting there in the theater going, why did I just watch this whole movie then? What was the point of me watching this? There was no point. Mary Poppins never even needed to show up. Because at some point, they were going to have their final meeting, and the guy was going to come in and save everything anyway. And that's kind of what I fear could happen. I don't think it will. I think they're smarter than this. But I fear it could happen that they just say, look, everything is awesome. Nothing bad happened. We undid everything that was bad, and it undermines all the consequences, the things that led up to that point. And I know, Rob, you feel a little bit the same way about that.
I do. And I don't like stories like that. I like stories that have lasting consequences. I can't believe that they would do that in this film. I think that the story is going to have lasting consequences for our characters.
I certainly hope so. All right, what's next?
HV3 9000. In death, a member of Project Mayhem does have a name. His name is Robert Polson. His name is Robert Polson. His name is Robert Polson.
That's from Fight Club.
Oh.
His name is Robert.
I'm like, why is that so familiar?
His name's Meatloaf.
I'm glad you got that, because
yes.
That one I just would have struggled with. Oh, I know that, but I never would have put it out of the air. No, Fight
By
Club,
the way,
Fight Club, nice one.
What are you doing talking about Fight Club on our show?
Not supposed to talk about Fight Club. All right, what's next?
Catholic Jack. Hey guys, have you seen The Best of Youth 2003? It's this Italian 6-hour epic with Amen acting. Def my top 5 of all time. Han is racing Pisces.
No.
I haven't seen it. I've heard of it, but I have not seen it.
I'll be honest, I'm Italian and I've never even heard of it.
I'll watch that though.
It sounds intriguing, but but hey, man, probably a lot of people have never heard of it, Catholic Jack, and now you just put it on a lot of people's radar.
Yeah.
So mission
accomplished. Is
it
it on Blu-ray?
All right, what's next?
Eric Saul. Who is the man that provides the filth for his brother man? Campea.
Campea.
I like that. Another t-shirt a guy can make. I like that one. That's
By the way, I love the fact they used the original version of Shaft and not some like stupid modern remake of the song.
Yeah, I agree. That was
Come
that
on,
kind of
Isaac Hayes
cool.
is forever Isaac Hayes.
All right.
Adrian Palermo. In Days of Future Past, time travel retcons the first 3 movies. Did you guys have a problem with that the same way you are worried about Endgame?
Absolutely not, because it's a totally different scenario.
Right.
The entire Fox run with X-Men has been continuity schmontinuity. They have never stuck to any kind of real continuity or anything like that. And by the way, what he did in that movie didn't undo everything that had ever happened in any of the other X movies. And by the way, then they moved on to Logan and showed that what happened in X-Men Days of Future Past didn't really matter either. And by the way, in X-Men Apocalypse, the stuff that they did in X-Men Days didn't really happen. Look, Fox structured their movies in such a way that every movie was seen and they approached it as an individual standalone movie that had vague connections to all their other films, but had so many out of continuities, curveballs thrown at them that you just could never take anything in their movie as canon. Nothing was. The MCU is different. It's a very different thing and built with much different stakes, very much built as one piece is built upon the previous piece, which is then built upon the previous piece. The X-Men films were never that. So it's a totally different scenario.
And by the way, Days of Future Past only took place on Earth. What Thanos did had universal consequences. It's not kind of the same thing.
All right, what's next?
Roman Bryan, which will happen first, Guardians 3 or Flash?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm going to say Guardians 3.
Me too. Yeah, I got to go with Guardians 3.
Because while they're having problems finding somebody to direct it, I think at least they're trying to find somebody to direct it. I have sensed no movement on Flash. Now, for all we know, tomorrow, Warner Brothers announces Flash 2022. Hey, that could happen. It very well could happen. But right now, from where we're sitting, it seems like Guardians 3 will come before a Flash movie, if a Flash movie ever comes.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Sebastian Trujillo. In the Endgame Super Bowl final shot, can we see Tony walking behind Rocket, right? It was already obvious, but this confirms that he does not die in space.
I don't think that was.
I don't think so either.
No, I didn't catch that. I mean, hey, maybe they did. Maybe Tony CGI'd out of one or two of those shots. It's all possible, but I certainly didn't take that as that was being Tony, not at all. All right, what's next?
Martin Valiuk, did you see Jack Black's new YouTube channel? It's the most hilarious random stuff ever, and someone said he reminds Schnepp. I couldn't agree more, 100%.
This is not the first time I've heard that. I have not seen his YouTube channel.
Neither have I.
Somebody said it's like the John Schnepp YouTube channel to me.
Really?
And I was like, I got to see that.
I do know I like Jack Black.
I do too. Dude, School of Rock is one of my favorite movies. I mean, I went and saw it. I went to a press screening, and then I was married at the time, and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go to the first matinee show of this on Saturday, just because I wanted to see it with a bunch of kids, and it was the most fun I ever had.
Oh, so cool.
They loved the movie so much, and there was kids going, Dad, I want to get like Led Zeppelin records. I'm like, this is the best thing
Here's
ever.
the thing, Ann and I have like annual memberships to the Pantages Theater. We really got them just so we can make sure we got our Hamilton tickets so we can go see Hamilton.
Smart.
But we also had a bunch of other shows come to, including Waitress, which was awesome. The Waitress live musical show is amazing. But one of them was School of Rock. It was awful.
Oh.
Yeah, it was not good. Was not good. That's too bad, though, because it didn't live up to the
I
movie.
love him, though. Like, I was so anti-remake of Jumanji. I was like, I'm not going to see this movie. I love the first one. I love Robin Williams. And then I saw it, and I was, like, so surprised. I love Jack Black in it. He was so
great.
funny. And The Rock. But, I mean, both of them. I was like, okay, I love this movie. But,
All right.
yeah.
What's next?
The Don, 50%. TJCS's 50% freezing on names.
Yeah, I feel like every third name is like, and so that one's got Joseph. Oh, damn, what's Joseph's last name again? And I freeze on it. Yeah, that happens. Over 50%, my friend. Over 50%. All right, what's next?
Willow Yan, greetings from Vancouver.
I love Vancouver. I remember my first trip to Vancouver. I was visiting somebody, and from their apartment, you could oversee the harbor where cruise ships would come in and out. So me and the girl I was with at the time, we were just like, I wonder how much it costs to take a cruise. And we got, if you go on like last second when they're just trying to fill up the cabins, we got a 4-day Alaska cruise for like $185 each. And that covered all your food and meals and it was all inclusive. It was a blast. And that was, I'll always have those fond memories. And by the way, I love the Vancouver Canucks. And I love Vancouver, man.
I began my drinking career in Vancouver.
A lot of Americans
Going
began
from
their
Seattle.
drinking careers in
Yes,
Canada
we
with
did.
the lower age limit. All right, what's next?
Second Street Marvel sends in a super chat and then says, Weekly Hero set me off on a good rant, not a bad one.
Nice.
Nice. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. By the way, once again, guys, the newest edition of the Weekly Hero is up and online on the YouTube channel right now. Make sure you go and check that out. All right, we got time for just a couple more.
Schnipp, I'm so glad someone mentioned The Exorcist 3 the other day. It is extremely underrated, and Brad Dourif's performance is unforgettable.
Well,
One of my favorites. I mean, Exorcist 3 is it's one of the smartest horror films ever written with one of the greatest scripts. And how many movies have dream sequences with both Patrick Ewing and Fabio in them? and still managed to be awesome. And by the way, the Shout Factory disc they put out that has the original version of Legion, well, the reconstructed version, and Exorcist 3 is an essential disc if you love the movie. I know it's physical media, and you people say, oh, it's so 20th century to have those discs, but get it.
You got your rotary phone?
It's great.
All right, what's next?
Pool of Dead, John vs. the World. You have to beat Jen Gardner's 7 X's. Iron Spider, CW, Superman, Han, MCU, Fake Deaths, and on Reddit, user source, anonymous Reddit user source, best popular film category, and the record button. Record button.
So comment of the day goes to Pool of Dead. That these are the 70, in John Campea versus the World, these are the 7 deadly X's that I have to confront one-on-one and beat them down. By the way, I don't know who brought it up, but somebody brought up Scott Pilgrim versus the World the other day. I can't remember. I was with somebody who said they really hated that movie. I can't remember if it was you.
It was probably me.
Oh, that's too bad. I love that movie.
I don't hate it. I just think it
didn't work for you.
Me too. I think it was the same.
Oh, that's right. It was both of y'all.
Yeah.
Surrounded by heathens.
It just seemed like it could have been playing more than one beat. You know, I was disappointed in it.
I love the opening.
I just love the whole movie.
And I'm a huge Edgar Wright fan.
But anyway, this nice little tie in there, Pool of Dead. That's the comment of the day. All right, let's just take 2 more and we'll wrap it up.
Jermaine Sneed, Bruce Leroy, he catches bullet with his teeth.
If you're talking about the MMA fighter, there's this MMA fighter and I'm trying to remember, he's fighting this Saturday actually, Ray. What's that? Do you remember the fighter's actual name?
I have no idea.
Okay, so anyway, so he started on Ultimate Fighter as a contestant, right? And so he's this young, kind of wiry, very muscular, but very wiry black dude with hair out to here. And he's very much he's very much a karate practitioner, right? And he does a lot of these flashy kicks. And Dana White dubbed him Bruce Leroy.
Wait a minute,
and
man.
he's like embraced that thing. And he's really a fun fighter to watch fight. I just can't remember his real name.
Isn't Bruce Leroy the character from The Last Dragon? Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon with Shonuff, the Shogun? Come on, man.
Okay, so I thought you were saying, I'm a UFC guy, so I just naturally go to the. So there's a guy.
Yeah, man. Barry Gordy's The Last. If you guys haven't watched The Last Dragon with Vanity and Shonuff, you got to see it.
I was thinking he was talking about something. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's what I should have caught on to that with the catches a bullet in his teeth.
I don't know. I think that's what. Right? Yeah.
All right. Last question of the day.
I saw that in the theater, by the way. Opening weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Sindra Tesla. Okay. What if episode 9 title is Han Had It Coming?
Again, crossing the streams. Star Wars Episode 9. Han Had It Coming.
That actually is pretty funny.
That is pretty
I'm surprised somebody has I poached something off Twitter. It was a Star Wars logo, and it said Star Wars, a Star Wars story.
I saw that too. Yeah,
and I was like, that's really funny. But if it said Star Wars Han, somebody please make me the Star Wars Han Had It Coming Star Wars logo, because I would like that.
All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. This has been a fun one. Thanks you for being here and being along for the wives. Thanks for being
Wife
along
your girlfriend,
for the wives.
man.
Again, it's
Wife
a
your
verb.
GF.
Wife is a verb.
Wife your GF.
Wife her
I want to
up.
thank Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RM Burnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work.
Sitting there, of course, Ashley Whalen. Ashley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at AshAttack1, or my Instagram is Ashley Whalen with 2 Y's in Ashley.
You guys, of course, can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, simply at John Campea. Special thanks to Jonathan over there in control room. Ray sitting over there right now, filling in for me when I got up from my seat.
That was amazing. He was like a seat warmer at the
that's
Oscars.
great.
That's right. He just sweeps in, sweeps out. And of course, a special thanks to you guys. There is no show without you guys here. Thanks for being here, being a part of the film fan community. That'll do it for this episode, guys. Make sure you come back next time. And until then, wife your GF.